Welcome to another crafty episode. I'm Franky and today we'll be crafting a cave entrance. This is a cave entrance specifically made for the rock terrain. Throughout the videos you have seen this black dragon horns. In this craft, I'll be using the skull of a black dragon to decorate the entrance of the cave. Black dragons love outlasting empires more than they like gold. It's fitting that their skulls end up at the rot. Before we continue, if you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Alright, let's do this. Let's start with a bowl of aluminum to hold our clay. We're basically going to shape it like a giant bean, smoothing out the surfaces while at the same time making one side flat. This will be the side for the teeth. Add the holes for the eyes and the nose. These are the important details of the skull. The rest is just fluff. We cover it with a layer of clay. While adding the clay, we have to keep in mind how we want to shape the eyes and the nose. There are a few things you can do to add detail here. Let's start with the line work. Using my tools, I add stripes running from the nose to the jaw, and then again from the eyes to the jaw. I also add other crevices to the skull to have multiple areas of contrast. Another way you can add detail is to run a ball of aluminum over the clay. Just remember to retouch the rest of the details if you do this step second like I did. Next, the horns. Get your aluminum, clay, and strings for this. Making this is pretty simple, but if you need a more in-depth look, check out this video right here. The only difference is that we'll be adding toothpicks to these. We are making some small horns for the back of the skull. While I'm at it, I'll also make some teeth and spikes on toothpicks to add to the rest of the terrain. I like to repeat patterns. Real quick tip here. Unlike me, I suggest you add toothpicks to all the spikes you add here. I'm talking about the teeth as well. We have to let everything dry before we proceed. I'm using hot glue to start the bonding process here. I followed up by adding more clay. I add texture with the aluminum ball again. I go ahead and hot glue the rest of the spikes. This time I will reinforce the spikes with baking soda and super glue. Make sure that if you do this, do it in a well ventilated area. I start by adding some super glue and sprinkling baking soda in between the spikes. I then poke at it with a tool to make sure both the glue and the baking soda bond well. Let's add some hot glue to the bottom of the jaw and add the teeth. In retrospect, I should have blended the teeth better into the skull. It almost looks like gums and it would have been easy to fix. Oh well. Like I said earlier, you should add toothpicks to these to make sure they bond well. Alright, on to the easy part. Let's make the cave. I'm going to cut out some pink foam to make into the cave part. I use a hot wire cutter to make some simple stone-like textures. Using the same pattern, I cut some other small pieces. I then make some ovals for the bases out of the board foam. I'm looking into different cheap basing material, but for now these will have to do. One of the downfalls of using this type of foam is that the paper takes in moisture while the foam stays the same, and that's what makes it warp. I try to seal the paper as best as I can, but still there is a slight warp. There is the option of removing the paper altogether, but that's just gonna make the foam weaker. And sealing it worked out for me, but just keep in mind that it might not always work. I like to add a bit of narrative to a piece like this. I'm putting in spikes through the spine of the dragon. I like world building, and it's nice to add some of that to the terrain as well. Whatever battle this dragon was in, it ended with a stone pillar through his neck. Let's add some rocks and some ground texture. I'm adding all different types of rocks here, just like I did in the last video. I want the rot spawns to feel right at home. I want to mimic some of the design details from the Rot Minions videos to this terrain piece. I add some Sculpting to hide the awkward joints of the stone and the teeth. And like in the other video, I add some of them skulls. All there is to do now is paint. I'll give you some of the bullet points on how I did it. Same old, same old. Let's start with the black Mod Podge mix. Dry brush the whole thing and then start adding the base colors. For the cave, I'll use the concrete gray. I add some base colors to the rest of the piece. I plan to finesse most of the paint job while applying the washes. Maybe I'll do a video on how I use the washes to do most of the work. I finish it off by flocking here and there on the piece because I feel like it needed something to allow your eyes to rest while they're looking at it. Overall, I'm extremely happy with the results here. The skull did not come out exactly how I intended it, but I'm very happy with the project nonetheless. I had a lot of fun working with the different textures here. I like the idea of a centerpiece to the encounter, a terrain piece that fits a narrative. This is not the final terrain piece that I'll do for the rot terrain, but I will probably be taking a break on this so that I can bring you other biomes. The next few videos will be more on things that have inspired me and my style. Things that I would love to see in D&D. Almost like crossovers. This is one of the reasons why I love D&D so much. It gives me an excuse to mix and match things from different sources that would normally never come together. Things only a fan can do. Like always, I want to thank my patrons, you the best, and if you want to join the best, check out our Patreon page and check out some of the options on how you can support the channel there. Thank you very much again for your time, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!